Strap on your seatbelt and prepare for takeoff. You're about to go on a journey. It's First Contact Radio with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much, and welcome to First Contact Radio, everybody. Today is the beginning of a new week. It is the 26th of August, 2019, Monday, last week of the month. The year is flying by. I know I keep saying that, but it continues to keep moving. So over the weekend, a lot was going on with the president. He was out in France at the G7 summit. There was a great opportunity to watch it on C-SPAN over the course of the weekend to see what was actually going on, or you could just watch the mainstream media news and listen to their take on it. My suggestion is to always go to the source, because that way you can find out exactly what they're saying, and then when you listen to the mainstream media, you can find out where they're manipulating the truth. One of the big concerns going into all of this summit from the American standpoint was all about China and how people felt it was a big, big bad thing that China was having trouble with the United States and the tariffs and all of this other stuff. But then the president went and he made a big multi-billion-dollar deal with Japan, and he had other great successes with other countries. So it seemed to be a really positive event all around. And the mainstream media is going to spin it the way that they're going to spin it because, well, quite frankly, they all hate President Trump because he is on the side of good and they're all on the side of serving themselves. Many of them, as we've discussed, have been involved with the corruption that is going on. And of course, from their corrupt standpoint, they don't want to see themselves getting in any trouble, which of course they're going to be as this continues to unfold. We have the Inspector General report coming out sometime very soon. Maybe we'll see something this week. If not, perhaps next week. But they said sometime around Labor Day. Hopefully, we'll see how that pans itself out. All right, so the first story for today is Hillary Clinton related. Bombshell. Everything's a bombshell these days. Bombshell. FBI's conspiracy to ignore sensitive evidence in 2016 relevant in Hillary Clinton's investigations emerges. New undercover truth in the Hillary Clinton email investigation reveals FBI conspiracy to ignore sensitive evidence in 2016 necessary to the indictment of Clinton. A memo by a staff updating the two senators' long-running probe discloses that the FBI, the version run in 2016 by the now disgraced and fired James Comey, Andrew McCabe, and Peter Strzok, failed to pursue highly classified evidence that could have resolved important matters, and questions the conspiracy to ignore evidence back in 2016 occurred even though the agents believed access to the sensitive evidence was necessary to complete the investigation into Clinton's improper transmission of classified emails, some top secret, on her unsecure private email server, the memos show. To make things worse, the Trump Department of Justice has been aware of the decision since at least 2018, thanks to the work of the DOJ internal watchdog Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who provided DOJ leaders and Congress with classified appendix explaining what happened. But Johnson and Grassley have been unable to get answers for a year, even from Attorney General William Barr, about whether the FBI intends to look at the critical evidence it skipped back in 2016. The Senate staff memo succinctly lays out just how egregious the FBI's decision was in 2016. The Inspector General's appendix raised a number of serious questions because, as explained on page 154 of the unclassified DOJ report, IG report, the FBI decided not to seek access to certain highly classified information potentially relevant to the investigation, despite members of the FBI case team referring to the review as a necessary part of the investigation, the Senate staff wrote. As a result of the findings in that appendix, Senator Grassley wrote a classified letter to the DOJ on October 17, 2018, which remains unanswered. On January 15, 2019, Mr. Barr's nomination hearing Senator Grassley asked Mr. Barr if he would answer the letter if confirmed, to which he attested, "Yes, Senator." On April 16, 2019, Senators Grassley, Johnson, and Graham sent a letter to Attorney General Barr reiterating the need for a written response to that letter. The DOJ's silence on the road that the FBI willfully chose not to take is all the more deafening given what we already know about the Clinton email case. As was previously written, then FBI Director Comey's original draft findings in the Clinton case concluded her transmission of classified emails through an unsecure server was grossly negligent, the legal standard supporting a felony charge under the Espionage Act. But the findings were edited and the term changed to extremely careless, and Comey chose on his own to announce on July 5th, 2016, that he would not seek criminal charges, a decision that the DOJ's IG concluded had wrongfully usurped prosecutors' authority to make charging decisions. In addition, FBI General Counsel James Baker believed, almost until the last minute before Comey's announcement, that Clinton should in fact face criminal prosecution, but he was talked out of it. And in the passage that often gets overlooked by reporters and pundits alike, IG Horowitz concluded in the final report about the Clinton email caper that the anti-Trump biases that the FBI agent Stroke and bureau lawyer Lisa Page expressed in text messages may have been affecting their decision making. Okay, more to the article. I want you to check it out. But we have heard plenty about the crimes of Hillary Clinton. What we're looking now is to see justice being brought to the situation. We'll see what's going to happen. We'll see. This is the time when Attorney General Barr is going to get to show us what he's made of. We'll find out, and we'll find out with this Inspector General report to see what goes on there. Most important thing through this, despite all of the distractions, President Trump is continuing to do the work and continuing to do good things for our country. Imagine how much more he could get done if he actually had support rather than all of the resistance that is going on. Now, the Mockingbird media is alive and well. It's been talked about extensively on this show. Mockingbird media goes back to the early 50s. It was a creation by the CIA in order to be able to control the media. And then it was later confirmed in the 70s through the church committee hearings that there were at that time over 400 CIA personnel working for the mainstream media. Their purpose? To craft the narrative. In other words, to tell you a story that they want you to hear, but not necessarily the story of what's really going on. And that becomes problematic because people rely upon the information that they receive. And if the information you get is bad, then the decision you're going to make from that is not necessarily going to be the best decisions that you can make. So it's very important that good information gets across. However, that is not what is happening now. And according to the various systems put in place, it hasn't been going on since the 50s, since Operation Mockingbird was in place. And most likely it wasn't going on before that because we had the Council on Foreign Relations that was involved in the process so they could make sure that the narrative was being followed. But nonetheless, it continues on and people are still blind to the fact that there is a control mechanism in place, but we get to see a perfect example of it now because the previous story talked about Andrew McCabe and how he was fired for lying. Okay, Andrew McCabe was fired for lying. But now CNN, who is accused of doing fake news, which means basically lying about the news, has hired a person who was fired for lying. Well, it's all par for the course because they themselves are the epitome of fake news. And to hire somebody that would be fake is just telling in itself. It says CNN added to its deep roster of former FBI and CIA officials turned analysts Friday with the hiring of Andrew McCabe, the former FBI deputy director fired for lack of candor during an investigation last year. McCabe is the 10th ex-FBI, CIA, or intelligence community official CNN has hired during the Trump administration, according to a Daily Caller News Foundation analysis. MSNBC has followed closely behind, having hired 5 former officials, including former CIA Director John Brennan. CNN was widely mocked on Friday after announcing the McCabe hiring, largely because the network has criticized its competition for hiring former Trump administration officials, but the personnel move is also part of a larger trend that has come under scrutiny from the media observers. Jack Schaefer, media critic who writes for Political, noted the potential pitfalls of networks like CNN and MSNBC having a stable of ex-spies and G-men as paid on-air contributors. But the downside of outsourcing national security coverage to the TV spies is obvious. Schaefer wrote in February 2018 at Politico, they aren't in the business of breaking news or uncovering secrets. Their first loyalty, and this is no slam, is to the agency from which they hail. Glenn Greenwald, an editor at The Intercept who covers national security issues, echoed the sentiment during the Fox News interview in March. And not only did MSNBC and CNN use those people as their sources, they hired them as news analysts. So if you turn on CNN or MSNBC, it was basically state TV. It was CIA TV, he told Tucker Carlson March 26th. Greenwald and others have noted the lopsided analysis offered by the former officials, especially on the topic of the Trump-Russia probe. Most have hewed to their network's general viewpoint that Trump or his associates conspired with Russia. Others, like McCabe, Brennan, and former National Intelligence Director James Clapper, have all defended the investigation of the Trump campaign. They've maintained their defense even in the wake of special counsel report, which debunked the theory that the Trump campaign conspired with Russia. Well, why do they have these people there? Because they need to keep their lie going. It didn't work. When they put it forward, people didn't believe it. Or not all of the people, a lot of people did. The media kept pushing it. The Mueller report came out. It didn't concur with the finding. The findings didn't concur with what the media has been saying. So the media is now going to double down on stupid by hiring people that are in the intelligence community that were involved with the fake dossier so that they can tell people that the fake dossier was actually real, hoping that people watching the shows will believe them. And you know what? There will be people that believe them. And that's the unfortunate part. Operation Mockingbird is alive and well, and most people have no idea that they're being misled by the media each and every time they turn it on. It's a battle for the mind. It is a battle for the mind, and there's a lot of American people who are losing that battle. A lot have woken up, but there still, unfortunately, are many who are blind to the whole situation, and then will fight you tooth and nail in order to try to convince you otherwise. Even though they're dead wrong, they're just so absolutely sure about their wrongness and so arrogant about their wrongness that they're going to make sure that they tell you that they are right, despite the fact that they are absolutely wrong. It's incredible. It's incredible what's going on out there. The denial that some people have, I don't know what they're afraid of. You know, there's this political correctness machine that has gone out and it's gotten people so terrified that they're afraid to see the truth. Afraid to see the truth. There's a video, I'm going to make the link available. I'd like you all to check out. It was an interview that Alex Jones did with the whistleblower from Google, and he talked about, we played this last week, but this was a great interview that just came out, and he really outlined all of the things that Google was doing and how long that they've been doing them that he was aware of, and that if they're not stopped, we're going to really have some problems. Problems because the information that we get is manipulated, and again, if we don't have good information, we can't make a good decision. Part of what was brought forth during this interview were old interviews that were being done by Eric Schmidt, and talks about old psychological programs that were used in early testing phases that were all intended to manipulate people. Eric Schmidt was asked a question by Charlie Rose in this particular interview from 2015 what he thought was going to be the future of search engines. And Eric Schmidt told him that the future of search engines was to be able to have one answer provided when a question is asked, and it would be the right answer. However, who is going to determine what the right answer is? That's the big question. Well, apparently, Google feels that they are the right people to do that. So anything other than the right answer they consider to be bugs. However, there might be multiple answers to a situation. All they're doing is going through and censoring information. Okay, anybody read the book 1984? Okay, it seems to be alive and well right now. And the media is trying really hard to be the control factors that we heard about and were warned about in the past. Question is, are we going to be able to stand up to them in order to be able to keep ourselves free? Because the battle is for the mind. The mind, the mind, the mind. Here's another video of border wall. Border Patrol unveils 60 miles of new U.S. Mexico border wall and drone footage. It says the U.S. Customs and Border Protection unveiled a stretch of new border wall on the southern border and said it completed at least 60 miles in all. So far, more than 60 miles have been constructed along the southwest border since 2017, and the agency is expected to complete 450 miles by the end of 2020. Tweet says construction crews continue to work on a new border wall system along the southwest border near San Luis, Arizona, in partnership with USA CEHQ. CBP has constructed over 60 miles of new border wall system along the southwest border since 2016. Expect to complete 450 by the end of 2020. The wall is located in the Yuma sector, which is among the busiest along the southern United States. All right, there are those who say the wall is not being built, yet the wall is being built to the denial of others, and you can see with your own two eyes if you just take a look at the link, take a look at the videos. There's plenty of pictures that are out there despite how they are trying to hide them. All right, switching gears over to Ilhan Omar, or is it Elmi? That seems to be the question. Judicial Watch has been asking that question. They've released information to show that the evidence is mounting against her, that she is not who she says she is. Who is she? Well, she's an Islamic terrorist. There's no denying that. For those who don't know history, in 622 AD, Muhammad and his followers went into a city, Medina, as refugees seeking asylum. They were brought into that city reluctantly, and then after a short period of time, they had gathered enough forces, converted enough individuals that they were able to attack the city that took them in, rape the women and the children, take some as slaves, and murder the rest. They've been doing the same thing from country to country to country, despite the fact that there are individuals here in our country that deny that this is going on and thinks that it's Islamophobic to bring this up. This is true history. This is true history. And so the Trojan horse has come to America. There are sleeper cells in America. They're popping up in various places. There are Muslim communities that are growing larger. And if you simply understand what is talked about in the Quran and in the Muslim and Islamic documents, the non-Muslim is not in favor with them. The non-Muslim is lower than low. They are not really counted as a human being, and it's okay to lie, to cheat, to steal, to rape, to murder, whatever it is. And if you want to be like Muhammad, you have to do those kind of things because that's what Muhammad did, including having a child bride as young as 9 years of age. This isn't a joke. This isn't something we should turn a blind eye to because it's been going on for 1400 years the same way. And so here we have Ilhan Omar, we'll call her that since that's what she is right now. But apparently she married her brother. Apparently she isn't who she claims to be. And she's in here hating America, wanting to cause problems in America. And then she wanted to go overseas and go into Palestine. In Israel, she wanted to cause problems there. Fortunately, there are smarter people in the world who see through these things and are able to put a stop to them. Well, here we have Alabama GOP passes a resolution calling for Ilhan Omar's expulsion from Congress. It says, let Alabama be the first, and let's see how many other states follow. That was the takeaway on Saturday at the Alabama GOP summer meeting hosted on the Plains in Lee County after the body passed a resolution introduced by State Rep Tommy Haynes calling for Alabama's congressional delegation to seek the expulsion of their Democrat colleague Omar. Haynes took the floor of the meeting to make a case for his proposal. It's just simply asking the body to ask the U.S. delegation, the Alabama delegation in Washington, D.C., to start proceedings to unseat Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman from Minnesota. The woman is continuously spewing anti American rhetoric, anti Semitism. She is un American. She came from a war torn country in Somalia to seek protection under Lady Liberty's hand. Folks, she constantly talks about the U.S. military. I put the U.S. military here. He continued raising his right arm. If it weren't for the U.S. military, we wouldn't be here today. I put them here, and she continuously talks down on our veterans. Folks, she continuously talks about one of our most faithful and loyal allies, which is Israel. Let Alabama be the first, and let's see how many other states follow. So we will see what happens with that. It's going to take some courage for those in Congress to be able to do something about it because the political correctness machine has got people so wrapped up that any time you express some sort of concern about what went on and what is going on with Islamic conquest, you're instantly labeled as some sort of Islamophobe. But you don't have to be afraid of Islam to know the history of Islam. Sometimes knowing the history is an important part. I mean, isn't it a good thing that we know that they sneak into countries, they claim to be refugees, they come in, and then they kill the people? Isn't that good to know in case you happen to be one of those countries who was dumb enough to take them in, like America? Because we have all these bleeding heart liberals who say, we got to let them in. Why? Why do we want to let somebody in who's going to hate us? If you had a party at your house, would you let somebody into your house that didn't like you? Would you let somebody into your house that just wanted to come in to destroy things in your house? Probably not. And if you say that you do, well, I'm going to say you're probably not being very honest because most people don't want to invite trouble into their own homes. Yet that's exactly what this situation entails. Bringing people into our home, America, that have declared that they hate America. Well, if you hate America, then don't come here. And if you're coming here just to want to destroy and fight with us, well, then we don't need that either. Stay away. Don't come here. There's other places you can go. But see, that's not the intention. The Islamic intention is to go in to subjugate, to destroy, to conquer. And so I encourage everybody to open their eyes to realize what is going on. Forget about the Islamophobic word that's being thrown out there because it's just being thrown out there to blind people. If at this point in time you're not willing to look at history and willing to understand that this is their MO, well, I don't know what to do to help you. You might as well just wait for yourself to be subjugated by them because that's all that's going to happen if we continue to turn a blind eye to the invasion and the conquest that is taking place. It's not too difficult to understand. Okay, so let's turn ourselves away from the heavy news to something a little bit lighter to wrap things up for today, and that would be reincarnation. It's a really good article I found here about it says 10 signs that your soul has been reincarnated several times. So reincarnation is not a dream, and in every moment you are in contact with this process. The most obvious example is in nature, which is cyclic. As the day comes, it perishes, it gives room to the night, and once again is born to die again. A plant blossoms, matures, and dies, leaving in its wake the seeds that will give life to another living being of the same species. That is why the human has adopted this phenomena and has inscribed it in his own life. For example, Buddhism does not believe in the existence of an individual and eternal soul. The human being is only the transmitter of an incessant flow of uninterrupted energy, of forces accumulated during previous existences. The law of karma is the determining factor of the existence of an individual. The man who dies will be reborn in an unpleasant or a pleasant state according to the actions that he has committed in his earthly life. These teachings are written within the sixth book of the Mahabharata, especially in the episode known as the Bhagavad Gita, which is the supreme figure called Krishna gives advice to a simple human, Arjuna. The ideology of life and death is expressed by the Guru with the following words. Just as a person takes off his clothes, his worn clothes, and puts on new ones, so does the incarnated soul, leaving the worn body and entering to a new form of manifestation. Weapons cannot pierce the soul, fire cannot burn the soul, the winds cannot dry the soul. Knowing this, Arjuna, be a mere instrument. This cluster of ideas opens the great door to the complex that is death and reincarnation for the human spirit. And although the last words were of Buddhist ideology, below are some signs of the people perceive that they tell us that life is one huge cycle. Well, here's 10 different examples or signs that may indicate that you are a soul that has been reincarnated. One of them is recurring dreams, dreams on a reflection of the unconscious mind, and although sometimes dreaming of the same scene may be a symptom of trauma, images of your past lives may also appear. Some people claim to have experienced certain events, having seen specific people or being aware of certain places that in their real life do not exist, but that somehow they feel identified with. Spontaneous memories. There are many recorded cases of young children who could remember previous lives, keeping in their mind memories of objects and people that came spontaneously and then later have proven to be accurate or real. Strong intuition. It's the ability to balance the conscious and the unconscious mind to obtain a wisdom that helps in a specific situation, but there are times when this force surpasses the nature and it seems to be an act of a seer. Deja vu. Everyone has that strange feeling of having experienced something before in their lives. Often a deja vu is provoked by smells, sounds, images, and flavors. These are those who maintain that this act is the cause of neurological dissonance. Others affirm that it reflects the possibilities of other dimensions. Yet still others believe it reveals a little more of past lives. Being empathic towards others. Following the Buddhist philosophy, there is the principle of the 7 lives in which the human has the right to reincarnate 7 times to act in the right way. In these lives, you're not always bound to be a human because your soul is repeatedly disposited in that of an animal to learn the basic principles of life. Being very empathic individual can be a sign that you have lived in many bodies, and that is why you respect and value others. Precognition. It's also called the vision of the future, a second sight. It's the ability to acquire information on future events, and of course, you would not know otherwise. This skill not only encompasses visions, but can also include experiencing physical sensations and emotions as well as dreams. Retrocognition. This is the opposite of the previous item. The information you get from the past world be a clear sign that you lived in other bodies, and what you now live in as a result is an act of reincarnation. Having great affinity for certain cultures or past centuries. If you find certain cultures attractive or periods in time, it could be because there is still you in a residual from your past life. For example, if you are interested in World War I or II, perhaps it's because you lived during that time. Feelings like you don't belong in this world. The annoyance at the world about you combined with a longing to find your true home, which may the result of the calling of the mystical place where all souls converge, because they say that the essences that have already fulfilled their mission in the cycle have a basic need to return home. And finally, unexplained fears or insurmountable phobias. Many of the problems that people suffer are residues of some experience that they did not properly finish, and now they appear in the form of trauma, phobias, diseases, etc. So we do go from life to life to life. It's said that when we leave one life, we have an opportunity before we go into the next one to choose what we're going to go in and do. The soul is not bound by color like we here are on the physical realm, but we do understand that when we go from that non-physical realm into the physical realm, that there are challenges of the various different races. And so we may choose to go in as a particular race in order to learn certain lessons. We may choose to go in as a male or a female in order to learn particular lessons. We may want to go in as somebody in a particular status in life, maybe someone who goes through a state of poverty, or maybe someone who's going to be very wealthy. Oftentimes, our soul wants to choose a situation and that's going to help us to evolve the most. We want to get soul growth so that when we leave the body and go into the next go round, we have learned something valuable, something that we can take with us. Because the physical things of this world we can't take with us. We can't take the money with us, the cars, the houses, all of those things. We simply take with us that which we came with. We're in a body or a soul that is residing in a body. When we leave, the body will stay behind, or maybe the body might even be able to travel with us if we get adept enough at that process. But certainly, the idea that the soul moves on and learns and grows is very, very important. And then we can have the words of Jesus. He's talked about it as well. If you're ready to believe, John the Baptist is Elijah come again. So, there's many, many, many different examples through different philosophies and teachers and so on. So we definitely want to keep an open mind and understand that our purpose for being here in life is not just about the physical things that are going on at the moment. It's not just about the events. The events is just what is happening because all of us gathered together have created these moments. It's all of us to then find a way to get out of these moments. If you're in the moments and part of it is being stuck because you're not paying attention or because information is being kept from you on how to move forward, well, then part of the lesson is learn how to get past that. Lots of challenges, lots of great things to understand when we start to look at the bigger picture, that our physical existence is just a drop in the bucket of the bigger picture. So there you go. That is the info for today. I do have a video I'm going to be placing up on the site. You might want to check out. I'll put it on today's playlist as well. It's a meditation, great meditation, and nice, good, relaxing. It's about 5 minutes or so, 7 minutes, but I think you'll find it to be very, very worthwhile, very relaxing, and simply wanted to share that with you as it was shared with me because I thought it was awesome, and I think that you will equally find it to be useful for you as well in any of your practices or attempts on finding relaxation in your life. So that's it for today, my friends. That's the news. That's the information. That's where we're at. I'll be back tomorrow with more so we can continue on. Until then, trust God. Keep sending out good into the world and know that everything is going to be okay because we ultimately are the ones who are going to be able to move ourselves forward. All we have to do is get ourselves out of our own ways. But I know we can do it. But most importantly, God knows that we can do it. These are just the challenges we're going through in order to continue to have growth of our own personal souls as we move through this great adventure called life. All right, my friends, thanks very much. I'll talk to you soon. God bless you. Peace. I'm out of here. FirstContactRadio.com.